went through a 4-year stretch where I felt like I wasn't making any progress. For that time, I was dialed in. I had clarity. It was just super clear to me what I needed to do to get to the next level, to achieve my goals. But things changed, and I was really left examining different areas of my life. I started to feel like what I was doing just wasn't enough. And then came depression, came questioning everything I was doing professionally. I was more stressed. I felt like there was more fog. I was frustrated more. The thing that I've noticed is when this happens, when we feel this tension within, what people often do is they turn to things for distractions. And that could look like working more, putting in more hours, burying your head in work, numbing out with maybe some doom scrolling on social media. It could be binge watching TV, like right up until bedtime or whatever. For a lot of people, it could look like trying to escape or trying to wind down with alcohol. And it doesn't mean you have to be an alcoholic. It could just mean you use it for that purpose. Some people, it's binge eating. It could be gambling. Just anything that is distracting from the experience that their body and mind are trying to get them to really grasp and understand. And what I've noticed is the same energy within that makes us a high performer actually turns into a really nasty inner critic when things start to get out of whack. When all of the things outside of us are not perfectly how we think they should be. Whether it's our job, our relationship, our home, it doesn't matter. We really feel this surge of self-criticism coming from this nasty voice within. That's why I was going through that. Basically hit a rock bottom, and I wanted to do everything to turn that around. So in the last 4 years, I've read over 100 books. I've listened to thousands of hours of podcasts. I've tried literally dozens, probably hundreds of different hacks and tips and frameworks and systems to just try and get back to the high performer that I once was. And really not even the same version, just what I knew I was capable of being. When I think about all the stuff I've tried, in hindsight, a lot feel like they were a waste of time and a waste of money, even though I know they all taught me something. But there were a few of them that really proved to be highly effective. And so in this video, I'm going to go over the 5 things that I started to implement that completely turned my life around. They're simple, they're straightforward, anybody can do them. They help me get back to a high level of performance and really be the high achiever that I once was, and it totally rebuilt and reborn in a new way though, and helping me really reach my potential and start to tap into that. Before we start though, super quick disclaimer, if you watch this video to the end and you implement these steps, they literally can help you get ahead of 99% of people. It's so simple, so straightforward. But if you're looking for a quick fix, if you don't feel like you have enough focus or time to watch the entire video, I would just say click away. Find something else to do, because the video is probably not for you. Let's jump right in. First thing is what I did is I actually remodeled my mornings. I used to take weed gummies at night. I would binge eat until I was uncomfortably full. I would watch TV right up until bedtime. I would scroll on my phone in bed. My alarm would go off. I'd hit snooze 3 to 5 times every morning. When I did wake up, I'd grab my phone and start scrolling again, and then I would roll out of bed. I'd feel foggy, I'd be irritable, no focus. I would often open up Slack or open up emails right away. It was a terrible way to start the day. I knew that when I was performing my best, my morning was dialed in. And so this was the first thing for me, low-hanging fruit. I knew this had to change. So what I started doing is I started waking up at 5 every single day, even weekends. I started making my bed just to give me that little win right in the beginning of the day. I started going from that right into 60 seconds of cold showers. Sucked at first. I hated the cold. I'd never done them before, but they proved to just be incredible and amazing for clarity and focus and all that. Then I started avoiding no screens. And I just had a rule of no screens for 1 hour after waking up. What I started doing with that time is I started reading, writing, and meditating every morning, and I started for 5 minutes for each one of those things. What was wild is it was only about 3 days in that I started to feel a massive shift. It was really the 3rd day after the cold shower. I was like, holy shit, this is who I know I'm capable of being. And then from there, the momentum just built. And it was so incredible that this simple change in the mornings affected my whole day, which affected my whole week, which affected my whole month. And now it's affected my whole life, and all from just a really simple morning routine. Second thing, I just started being super intentional with who I wanted to become. I had been living my whole life focusing on what I wanted to achieve, what I wanted to acquire, how much money I wanted. And I completely flipped that upside down. I started focusing on who I wanted to be as a human being, not what I wanted to accomplish or acquire. I think back 4 years ago from today, my biggest epiphany came when I learned this one thing. And that one thing is that everything in our life, all the events that happen, everything, objectively, it's neutral. It's only our mind that creates meaning. Good or bad, it comes from our mind and our perspectives and the lens we're looking through. What that meant to me and why it shifted something inside of me so much, it meant that all of my struggles were because of how I thought and what I believed and my perspective. I was so frustrated before, but now I had something to focus on. Now I had a clear path to like, oh my gosh, if I just work on this, I'm gonna start to feel better. And so what I started to do with this intentionality and to start working on these thoughts and beliefs is I started writing down 3 things every morning. I did it for 2 straight years every day. It's something I still do. I did it this morning. The first thing is a check-in, is a physical check-in. How's my body feeling? Anything that comes to mind can be a simple word answer. The second thing is how am I feeling mentally, emotionally? What do I notice? And just being present with what is. The second part of this was what am I grateful for in my life? And what I noticed was I was always focused on what I didn't have, what was missing. And this became an opportunity for me to really focus in on everything that I had. And it started to slowly shift and rewire my mind to just a deeper level of appreciation and love and just this energizing sense of what I have. The third thing was going back to intentionality is how do I want to show up today? What is the best expression of myself today? When I look at the highest version of myself, the most authentic version of myself, what does that guy do? What are personality traits that he embodies? How does he treat people? How does he walk? What is his posture like? And I started doing that every single day. The third thing is I completely cut out alcohol. And I want to be clear, it wasn't super easy. It's actually really tough. And it didn't happen right away. It actually took me 2 years to start living clean in this way. But what happened was the simple choice to be intentional about alcohol. Hey, I want to focus on this area of my life. Let me just explore, be curious, keep an open mind. That was the first domino. And I wear this Whoop, which was a fitness tracker, sleep tracker. My Whoop told me, it started to show me that, hey man, with only a couple drinks, it actually affects your recovery, resting heart rate, respiratory rate, HRV, for 4 or 5 days after drinking. When I saw that, I knew, I was like, okay, that means I'm only performing my best. I'm at my baseline 1 or 2 days per week. There's no way I'm buying into that. I'm not doing that anymore. So I knew I had to start drinking less. When I would have some drinks, I'd wake up feeling unmotivated. I would wake up with doubt. I would wake up with guilt, feeling anxiety. And as I was shifting to starting to get back into this high performance mode, starting my own business, coaching men and all this stuff, I just knew that it really wasn't supporting the life I wanted. It wasn't supporting the person that I knew I wanted to become. I was cutting back. And then I had 1 beer with my best friend on his birthday in August of 22. Only 1 beer. And I woke up the next morning with suicidal thoughts. I was in bed till like 10 a.m. I was full of self-doubt. I was questioning everything I was doing from a work standpoint, personal standpoint, and then I just had ideas about, man, wouldn't it be easier if I wasn't here? I knew in that moment, I was like, man, this ain't it. This is not worth it anymore. I'm just gonna lean into cutting it out completely. And really in that 2-year span, the less I drank, the better I felt. The better I felt, the less I wanted to drink. There is this dynamic of social pressure, which really just comes from within, and we feel like we need to do something to fit in, or what are people gonna say, or I don't know if I can't drink at this wedding or bachelor party. But then I had this thought that gave me so much clarity, and it was, if this is something that makes me feel my best, why the fuck do I care what anybody else thinks? It was just so liberating for me. So I cut out alcohol. The fourth thing is I started putting my sleep first, like truly prioritizing it. Not just lip service, not just doing it 3 days a week. I mean, really doing it. You know, after I read Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker, I was basically scared shitless to not get 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And so taking that motivation and like what I learned from that book and gamifying it a bit with Whoop, it really helped me figure out what I needed to do to get my best sleep. So I started testing and tinkering all these things, and I came up with 4 anchors, 4 pillars that really helped. First one was a consistent bedtime, 7 days a week. No longer staying up till 2 a.m. on Saturdays or just random times during the week. I read that this really helps with our circadian rhythm and consistency, getting restorative sleep. So I was like, cool, I can do that. The second thing was no screens 1 hour before bed. I'll be honest, this was the hardest part for sure. I was so used to being on my phone, watching Netflix Netflix, etc. So it was really challenging. But what I noticed right away was the days that I did it, those were the days I went to sleep the fastest. I just got deeper sleep, felt more rejuvenated and rested when I woke up the next morning. So it became an easier decision because I started to see results. The third was no food 3 hours before bed. And the fourth, which I had already been working on, was no alcohol. Just a few pillars there that really helped. And why I did that, I went 9 years without sleeping through the night ever. I can just share that my sleep has never been better. And good sleep leads to more energy for things like exercise and workouts. It makes me more motivated to work on my business. It helps with mental health. It regulates my hunger cravings as well. So I'm eating the right kinds of food. It just has this amazing trickle-down effect. I started training jujitsu as well on this journey to pick up a hobby I can really put time, passion, discipline into. What I noticed is I was more recovered. And so I upped my training from 2 or 3 days a week to 5 or 6 days a week, just because I was recovering better. I will say having this sleep routine and intentionality with sleep made getting up at 5 a.m. a hell of a lot easier, effortless. The fifth thing, the last point, is I actually reevaluated my relationship with money. I feel like money had been driving my life for about 9 or 10 years, ever since I got out of college. There was this underlying sense, this attachment to success. I need this to prove myself. I need this to prove my worth. I felt like I always had to make more. I had to buy nicer stuff to keep up. Hey, this guy got a new 4Runner. I want a new 4Runner. They live in this kind of apartment, or they bought a home, or they have an investment property. I want that, right? And so I was constantly chasing. At the end of the day, it just never felt like enough, which if you've ever felt that, it's fucking exhausting to deal with that sense of not enoughness just working in the background. So what I did is I shifted it. I hit pause and I made a commitment to start putting myself first and what I wanted first, not what society wanted, not what my parents or my family thought they wanted of me, not what my friends are doing or coworkers or anything like that. I was like, screw that. What actually makes me happy? What do I want? What kind of life do I want to live? And what happened is money was no longer a prerequisite for happiness. It just shifted to be a form of energy. It shifted to be something I could trade for value, whether it was coaching or books or taking a trip, paying rent, something really simple. This is exactly how I turned my life around. I went from President's Club, sales MVP, #1 rep, leading a sales team in New York City, to getting fired for poor performance, having to figure all this stuff out, dealing with depression. And this is how I got back to being a high performer in running a successful coaching business, is just with these 5 steps. So I know if you follow these steps, I have zero doubt that you're going to see amazing results, and it's not going to take that long. It's going to take less than 30 days and you're going to feel this massive shift. However, what I talked about in this video, it's really only one piece of the puzzle. There is a lot more that goes into getting unstuck, living with purpose, working with passion, building the type of health and habits that actually sustain the long run. Obviously, I couldn't cover all of that in this video. If you feel like you're pretty serious about achieving your highest potential, getting back on track, beating burnout, living with passion, living with purpose, then just make sure you click the link in my description below. Join my newsletter where I literally give away everything that I know about performing your best and doing so without burning out. That's the key. So again, click that link below and join, and I'll see you there.